Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan of Michael Jordan Hotels. And today we got Napoleon in the building with Tack Building Inc. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We are at
Yeah.
Click Connect, California Lodging and Investment Conference. We're clicking and we're connecting and we're making it happen. Man, so my first question is like, how did you get started in this business? And tell us a little bit about Tack Building.
Man, so I've been in the business. This year is 19 years. I've been very fortunate in construction. I fell into the business. I had a friend of mine that had a friend, and he had a job when I first started. It was a company. It's a company called R&S, Rudolph from Sletton, and they needed somebody to do document control. So I came into the industry just learning document control and prologue. And ultimately, I met an executive that took a liking into me. That got hired on recently with R&S at the time. And he taught me the business. He taught me the importance of schedule, communication, basically how to run construction. And from there, I just started being very, very interested in it. And I was seeking a lot of knowledge, and we spent hours upon hours on it. And ultimately, I moved up from that to project engineer and senior project manager and all that throughout my career and throughout a variety of different general contractors. So for me, I've ran projects anywhere from $5 million to $300 million jobs.
Nice.
And I've seen a lot over the years in terms of where the industry was, where it's been, and kind of where it's going, in terms of a lot of different things. But essentially, that's what happened. Before that, I was more into arts, into theater. Also, I worked in hotel when I was in my early 20s. And I worked at the Grand Hyatt Washington, and I was in the corporate management trainee program. And that program allows you to work in every department in the hotel. It takes about 9 months. And you learn the operational side of every department. And so I was always intrigued with hotels. Even in high school, I was in the travel and tourism, field as well. And so a lot of that background started coming back to fruition when I started learning more how to be a builder.
Nice.
And I definitely had an opportunity from project management to running work in the field as a superintendent. I've done a little bit of everything, and so it's been great.
California is just a beautiful state.
It
This
is.
state has so much to offer, but that is not cheap. I've seen what happened with the fires, and a lot of people lost their homes. Some people lost their lives.
Yeah.
What is going on right now in the construction industry, and what are they doing to trying to rebuild?
Well, a big initiative right now, to his credit, that he's really been trying to spearhead is Rick Caruso. He's really trying to get the underground, the infrastructure for the electrical to be underground as opposed to above ground.
That's smart.
And he's really pushing that effort. And he's working with Mayor Bass of the Los Angeles with that. And I've worked on a Rick Caruso project before, and he's been great. And very, very much cares a lot about the community. So he's really spearheading that. And a lot of the subcontractors that I'm talking to are trying to figure out ways to kind of help from an environmental standpoint, because there's a lot of environmental cleanup with it, and what the state is doing and what the city is doing. Between that and with the subcontractors that I do know that are involved, everybody's trying to come together to corral to figure out how to basically clean up the community so it can kind of restart and people can build their homes again. I personally know several people that have lost homes there, and it's just very unfortunate.
What is that going to do to the supply chain when something that devastating happens when it comes to construction?
There's also, it's interesting, it's a very good question. As far as commercial construction, when you talk about wood framing, the question is whether or not they're going to go back and build wood frame with those homes again. Most of those homes, majority of the homes, all homes are pretty much made of wood frame, unless you have a multi-million-dollar home, and even some of those are wood frame. I think that ultimately it is going to drive up a high demand for supply. So you already kind of have a supply chain issue now.
Yeah.
I mean, even in commercial construction, I'm not going to veer off too much, but like a generator, it takes about a year lead time.
Yeah, I heard.
It's like 52 weeks. But for home building, the lumber costs, things like that, lumber, those type of prices are it's going to be really expensive if they were to go back and build the same way. But I think the thing that is happening now, and I think Rick Caruso, I give him credit because I listen to him a lot. They're trying to figure out smarter ways for the home builder to consider how to build. And some may end up going modular.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Making modular homes prefabbed. But, there's a lot of study that need to go into that in terms of the resistance and the fire ratings and so on and so forth for that.
Okay.
But as far as fast and efficiency, if you were to have an underground infrastructure and you have modular homes there, and they can look really nice. I mean, there's some nice modular homes. I think that is most likely a more efficient way to build a community, but it just really depends. You have to really scale. You really have to go back and start off with a clean slate from an economic development standpoint and say, okay, what is our new identity in these cities, in the Palisades and Altadena and Pasadena, and how do we build smarter and build more efficient? Because that takes time, and that's something that everybody wants to rebuild and they want to get their homes back and get back to normal, but we have to be smarter this time so that
it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it doesn't happen again. I mean, you can't prevent the inevitable. Yeah, I mean, I remember that particular day when the fires happened. Actually, I remember the day before the fires happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little story there myself.
Okay. He's gonna tell us the day before the fires happened, the story of what happened. All right.
So I had jury duty the day before the fires, and I left work, or I got dismissed around like 2:00.
Okay.
And every Sunday, I usually take a drive up Malibu. I take a drive up the coast. I'll drive to Calabasas. I'll go and just clear my head, because I've always been a believer that the energy of that community can embark upon you if you soak it in from a kinesthetic standpoint, right?
Okay.
So I always take drives to kind of clear my head too and get myself ready for the week. And I went up there. I drove up through Cannon, took the 101 to Cannon, went over by Zuma Beach, and I just kind of meditated for a few hours. And I remember turning around, looking at all the houses there, and driving down Malibu, looking at all the beautiful houses there. And the next day, it was like the worst thing ever. It was very windy. It was like really strong winds. Even where I live in Bellflower,
yeah,
which is southeast of LA. And I just remember taking my son to swim class, and it was just so much wind. I was like, man. And then they said, oh, there's a fire broke out. And I said, well, I'm not surprised. And see, that's the thing. Like with that kind of wind, all it takes is for the wind to hit a power line or transformer, and boom, and it just starts.
Yeah.
It's not like, we even have wind now. It's been windy the last few days, not like to that degree. But so that was that whole story there with the Palisades. But here in California, you have two issues. You have skilled labor shortages.
Okay.
And you also have supply chain issues.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have supply chain issues, there's escalation all around that.
So you're gonna see a serious increase in prices.
You will. But the thing that I always tell people, or I'll tell an owner that's looking at, I don't think that the market's ever going to get back to what it was in 2020. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to level itself out to where it either is now, or it might be a little less here and there. But at the end of the day, what I tell people is you need to build now, and then you'll have to figure out how do you get the investment, get your return on investment once that asset has been created.
I see.
Because there are a lot of people right now that have money, they're just sitting and waiting, and
like it's going to get cheaper.
Like the sky is going to be purple and the crabs are going to come out and start dancing and say, build, please, that kind of a thing, it's not going to happen. If anything, I think the biggest need, if I was a developer, I'd be looking at definitely adaptive reuse. Okay. Converting office to hotels. I mean, you got the Olympics that are coming here. You got the World Cup, all this other stuff. You got now your Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You have all this need that's going to be here within the next 3 years or 4 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, how do we capitalize on that?
Now, like I know a lot of the commercial projects are going to fall on your lap, but if you get the commercial and residential business, what would it be like the first 3 things that you would do in that process? Because let's say you got the whole project of rebuilding that area. What are the first three things you'll do?
Well, and as far as the fires,
Yes.
so environmental cleanup would be one. You have to really look at what the soil conditions are because those houses are old, right?
Yeah.
So you have to reevaluate that whole underground infrastructure to bring it up to what the knowledge that we know now on what we could build on that soil, and maybe now looking at those type of looking at that kind of analysis, you may realize, oh, I shouldn't build a 2-story house here.
Yeah.
So there has to be a lot of research there, right? Once you figure out what you can build there, then it's like, all right, now we got to figure out what makes sense in terms of not just money, but time.
Correct.
The time is the big factor, and that's something that is overlooked very often. Everybody's worried about costs and basis points and stuff like that, but it's really about how much time is it going to take to really get that project completed, right? So looking at from an environmental standpoint, once you figure out what those conditions are, do your study, then you start doing schematic build out, whatever. Or if you're saying the design's already complete, it's time to build.
Yeah.
Then it's more of, okay, well, you have to start with our foundations and get all that stuff anchored and shoring and things like that.
Okay.
And then build your structures.
Nice. Would you make any changes to the roads, or you just leave everything the same?
I think I don't think the roads themselves. I mean, the cleanup would definitely be the biggest thing, more so than the roads themselves. Like I was just thinking,
Because all those heavy trucks with all the
right,
like all that weight is just gonna kill the asphalt. It's gonna.
yeah, it does. I mean, like as far as all your trucking to different businesses and stuff, and that's that in those areas though. For me personally, I don't see a lot of trucking. It's not like the 710 Vietway going to Long Beach or even LA or going up into IE and stuff like that. The only infrastructure on the roads would be mostly like your utilities, your lights and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I think that I would do a lot of offsite improvement with the lighting and stuff along those lines.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you for joining us for
We
the
welcome.
show.
Absolutely.
Can you tell everybody how they get in touch with you?
So my name is Napoleon. I'm the Director of Business Development for Tack Builders. We are a part of the Kojima USA family. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me at Napoleon.Thomas. That's Napolean.Thomas at tackbuilders.com. And my phone number is 323-840-4917.
Fantastic. And thank you for joining us for another episode. This is Bruce Jordan, the Microdrive Hotels, signing out.
That's it. It's a wrap. Click 8. It's in the books. I want to thank Bruce, the Michael Jordan of hospitality, for being at Click 8, creating all this great content for us. Great speakers, great panels. Hey, you need a hospitality intern? We can help you with that as well. And guess what? We had 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, 2 Hotel Development Deals of the Year. We're going to be back next year. Make sure you join us.